everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar. I'm Randy Brown. I'm a deposition consultant for here at Scribe. Welcome to our webinar, Beyond the Buzz, Real-World AI Tools for Litigators. Just some quick housekeeping. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll have a few moments after the presentation for some Q&A, but please ask them as they come up. We will be sending out a recording to this, if you want to take copious notes, you can, but we will be sending out a recording. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenters. Karl Seelbach is the founding partner of Doyle and Seelbach out of Austin, Texas. He's also one of the co-founders of Scribe. And then also joining us is Hughie Hunt, one of the founding partners of Kemet Hunt Law Group out of Greenbelt, Maryland. So without further any other explanation, Karl, over to you.
All right, very good. Well, I just dropped in the chat. Please ask questions. It really is a lot more fun if we get questions in real time. So if we're presenting on something that you have a question about, drop it in the chat. And if for some reason we don't see it, Randy will let us know. Thank you, Randy, for that warm introduction. I'm going to share my screen. And Randy, if you will just, as I get over to the PowerPoint, give me a thumbs up or something that you can see it.
I can see it.
Okay, cool. Well, off to the races. So Beyond the Buzz, our goal here, my goal, Mr. Hunt's goal, is to give you some real world tips. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll be entertained and you'll have some concrete workflows that you can actually put into practice this afternoon. So I like to tell a little bit about the speakers, so I'll quickly go through mine. I was born in Texas, raised for a few years in Norway. I'm half Norwegian. Grew up in Northeast Texas, where I went to Stephen F. Austin, met my lovely bride. Went to law school in Houston, where I was a part of the advocacy program. Started my career at an AM law firm, Winstead. Moved to Austin in 2015, which is where I raised my kiddos, and started my own firm in 2015. Most of my time, money, and effort goes into club volleyball with my two kids. If I'm not working with the Scribe team or managing the law firm, I'm probably in the gym watching volleyball. That's a little bit about me. Hughie, take it away.
Well, I don't know if I can back that up, but I'm from the great state of Ohio. I live in Baltimore and Las Vegas now. Been a member of the MSBA for a long time, and I just want to say, of anybody in this panel, I'm probably the least tech guy out there. I pretty much use email and text messages, so don't think that I'm some guy who's an egghead in the back room. So what I tell you will be real world tips on what I've noticed and used over the years. I will say that the last time Georgia Southern faced Stephen F. Austin, we beat him in the championship game. We down by 17 in the fourth quarter, but we'll leave that discussion for another day. But I'm excited, about this seminar because I think AI, people talk about it, but we really don't ever really get into the nuts and bolts. So I think that this is going to be kind of a nuts and bolts discussion, and please chime in anytime.
Yeah, and I'm excited to
And
have you
yes, I did have hair.
You did have hair, and I'm excited to have you on this because I think it'll really be a fun perspective to get both some of my experience and then also yours as well. So we're going to cover a lot of things today, a lot of tools for discovery. One thing that I've got a couple of surprises here for you. So we're gonna, I remember back in those days, the SFA days. You remember this picture? You probably don't remember it. So this is a deep fake warning. So it is really easy to create deep fakes nowadays. So easy that I actually created another one of you and me. This was back in our NFL days when we were playing pro ball, and we even had some friends with us for some of those games. What do you think? I mean, you can create a deep fake now in about, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Oh God, that's crazy. I've never had the number 70 or 77.
Yeah, I know the numbers, just random numbers. But anyway, the point of that is really you got to be on the lookout for deepfakes. In cases that we handle from both clients and witnesses, photos of accident scenes, text messages. It is so simple to create fake images now, and even fake videos, that we've got to be on our toes. So that's just kind of a fun way to bring up that warning. A few disclaimers. We're not your attorneys. This presentation is not legal advice. Hopefully you don't fall asleep. We're going to try to keep it fun, fast-paced, entertaining. Don't bill any time for this. Any good litigator knows, of course, though, you need to give your audience a roadmap. So here it is. We are going to talk a little bit about ethics, we're going to talk a little bit about what generative AI is. We're not going to get too deep on that. I'm not an engineer. I don't think Hughie's an engineer. So we're going to keep pretty surface level on that. But then we're going to go through some use cases for discovery, talk about how you can use deposition software to get ready for the deposition, to get your witness ready, how you can actually use it in a live deposition to get an edge in the deposition room itself, and how to automate some of your post-deposition workflow. Um, what we're trying to avoid with this presentation is you ending up on the front page of the paper for all the wrong reasons. Attorneys continue to get sanctioned time and time and time again. And really, it's just a lack of education on the limitations of certain tools for legal use. And we're going to give you some good tips today that hopefully will get you on a clear path not to end up getting sanctioned by a judge. Examples of this, again, you should not use any consumer-facing AI tool for legal research. I'm going to explain some legal research platforms that I just piloted, three of the big ones that you can and should use for your legal research, but don't use ChatGPT, not as of the date this webinar is being recorded in November or December 2025, excuse me, because it will hallucinate cases. These are cases that are not real cases, but they were filed in a federal court case by an attorney who thought they were real, and the attorney ultimately got sanctioned for it. It can happen to anyone. I mean, Deloitte had to refund the government for a study that they were hired to prepare because it turned out that someone at Deloitte had used generative AI and had all sorts of hallucinations in it, made up references, made up federal court judgments. So again, none of us are immune, small, medium, or big firms. This can happen to anyone. This poor lawyer, I just pulled this last week. I don't think James Smith was the lawyer that did it. He was just the one that shared it on LinkedIn. Um, whoever this lawyer was used six different AI tools and had them cross-check each other and thought that that would solve the problem of hallucinations with case sites. It didn't, and I assume probably the six tools that he allegedly used were probably all consumer-facing chatbots, not legal-specific research tools. So he ultimately got sanctioned, only $250 sanction, but was found that he wasn't competent or adequate class counsel. So that was
Yeah, that was the $1 million problem right there because class counsel gets a hefty payout.
Yeah, I still need to figure out how to file my AT&T, settlement check request, right? Didn't they just have a big class settlement or something? I don't know. I need to look into that.
Carl, I want to ask the panel or all of the attendees. One problem I've had over the years is when I use an AI site and then I go and type that site in, sometimes it's hard to actually find cases that exist typing the site that was cited, even though it actually exists. I wonder if anyone, if they could raise their hands, has experienced that
Yeah,
using AI.
I mean, that's a great question. Randy, if anyone does raise their hand or drop a comment, it's a little harder for me when I'm the one sharing my PowerPoint to see that. So just alert us if anyone does, and we will take those questions in
I
real
know
time.
I've experienced it, and, and sometimes it's frustrating because the case actually exists, but for whatever reason, when you type it as it was cited, it just doesn't come up.
Yeah, yeah, I think that can happen. I'm going to show some ways when we get to the legal research section where you can avoid that problem at a cost. It is a little more expensive tool than paying $20 for $25 for ChatGPT, but it can help you be able to access the cases and know that they're real cases. So ethics, we're going to cover a little bit of ethics here. These are the Texas rules and ABA rules, but again, almost all the states model their rules after the American Bar Association. So I don't think it's going to be too different for Georgia or any other state. Really, three core concepts that apply, I think, to the use of generative AI. One is competence. We have a duty to be competent, you're attending this webinar. This is a great way to study up on and learn the pros and cons and limitations of generative AI. But really, it is a duty to educate ourselves, to read up on the tools, to learn how to use them. And so competence, we've got you covered on that, I think. Communication, that's the duty really to communicate with your client and make sure that they understand the means through which you are accomplishing their objectives, including if you're using generative AI. The American Bar Association recommends that you disclose that to clients, not only in an engagement letter, but also perhaps even just in an email, and let them know that if you are or are not using generative AI to advance their objectives. As an ABA resolution, I don't know that that's really binding on any of us, but that is what the ABA has recommended. Confidentiality, We're going to talk a little bit about that. That is certainly a topic, hot topic when you talk about large language models. It's true of any cloud-based practice management system, although large language models are different, of course. But the basic duty being, we have a duty to make sure that the documents that we're sharing with these vendors and with these software companies are protected and they're encrypted and that they're, really protected from inadvertent disclosure. If you want a sample disclosure clause to put in your engagement letter, just shoot me an email. My email's at the bottom of the screen, Karl with a K at scribewithak.ai. This one is I crafted this one based on the American Bar Association's guidance and the Texas State Bar guidance. So it kind of tracks what those two bar associations recommend. Happy to share that. Keep in mind, though, and I'm curious, I'm going to make a comment, then I'm going to ask you his experience at least in federal courts in Texas and some state courts in Texas, some of the judges are starting to issue rules around the use of generative AI. This one is from the Northern District of Texas Federal Court, and Judge Starr here. I don't think any rules are really needed because we already kind of have a duty of candor and to make sure that we check things for accuracy before we file them with the court. But if judges are going to have rules, I think Judge Starr got it right. All he's asking the litigants to do is to certify that if anything was drafted with AI, that it's been checked for accuracy. And that seems like a very reasonable compromise to
But
require.
Carl, we all know all the judges, at least all the judges I know, they're using AI every day with their subscriptions. So
Yeah,
takes one to know one.
it's funny you say that. One of the telltale signs that many of you may know now, ChatGPT loves M dashes. And one of the things that I had to chuckle about a little bit when I created this slide was look at the highlighted section. There's an M dash here and an M dash there. And it just made me wonder. I wonder if one of the clerks or staff attorneys drafted that using AI, because that is one of the telltales of if something's been drafted with ChatGPT. They're supposed to be
I
able.
mean, they're using it right on the bench. Like when they're on the bench and you're in it, they're using it in front of you. So
Yeah.
I know that for a
Do you,
fact.
in Georgia, in some of the states that you practice, do you have any judges requiring disclosure of the use of generative AI?
I haven't I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just hadn't come across it yet.
Okay.
I've heard of it in Texas and some other places, New York, I think, but I hadn't seen anything in Maryland or DC just yet. Not that it doesn't exist. I just hadn't. And each of these judges sometimes have different rules.
Got it.
So
Got it. Well, just be on the lookout for it. So the Federal Fifth Circuit, which is the one that my state falls under, actually decided not to issue a rule. They had a proposed rule that people were submitting comments on, and ultimately decided they didn't need a new rule. That if you do something that would otherwise be a sanctionable offense, such as filing a brief that has a case that doesn't exist, or quotes that are made up, or facts that are hallucinated, that would doesn't require a new rule. They're going to be able to sanction you already under just existing rules and duty of candor that we have with the courts. So I think the Fifth Circuit got it right on that, and it makes a lot of sense. So how generative AI works, again, we're just going to go surface level on this. Think of it like a word calculator that is trying to predict the next word in the sentence. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. It's predicting the next word in the sentence, the next sentence in the paragraph, and so on and so forth. The one interesting side note is this slide, everything on this slide was actually created with an AI tool. I just told the AI chatbot, I have a presentation to a group of attorneys coming up. I need to explain to them how generative AI works. Could you design a slide that conveys the concept, right, of how a large language model works? So I didn't tell it any of the text to put on the slide, how to design it. This was literally what it came up with. So I thought that
And,
was.
and Carl, could you, for some of us, who don't understand or don't know, can you explain what a chat bot is?
Yeah, so I use that term a little bit loosely because I guess technically chatbots existed before large language models. If you think back to the little chat widgets that sometimes show up on the bottom of support websites. But the most common way to interact with large language models is like ChatGPT. It's like the chat interface where you kind of feel like you're having a conversation with another person, even though of course it's just software. So that was kind of what I was referring to when I said chatbot. There are some. I'll talk a little bit later about agentic AI and the concept of having AI really be more proactive and do things for you without you necessarily having to chat with it or interface with it. But yeah, that's all I meant when I said chatbot, was really just chatting with the ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, pick a tool. This is really, when you submit your question or ask them something, this is really kind of what's going on in the background. So privacy is also super important here. This is an example of some of the consumer-facing tools. Don't be scared of the consumer-facing tools. These are the ones that really revolutionize large language models, right? Anthropic, which owns Claude, OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, xAI, which owns Grok. These are extremely powerful tools. Google Gemini is not on here. I need to update my slide because Google is really blowing it out of the water. Some of their latest models are really surpassing any of the ones on the screen. All of them have business plans and enterprise plans. So you shouldn't be afraid of using some of these tools like a ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Claude. You should just make sure that you're picking the business or the enterprise license and you're paying the fee associated with that, and you're checking the policy and making sure that they're keeping the data private and that they're not training on the data. And most of them have very good safeguards in place for that. And they're designing their enterprise plans for, professional companies, right? I mean, that they want our business, and they're really designing these things to meet a lot of the privacy requirements that law firms and other professional service companies have.
When
Randy?
you talk
Yeah.
about privacy, and this is one thing that I've always, I don't want to say laughed about, but if you're filing a complaint and it's a public document, why would it have to be private? You know, like what are we really saying here? I mean, is it just medical records, or things
Yeah,
of that nature? But in some situations, you're filing the medical. I mean, like, so
yeah.
what's actually private?
No, that is a great point, and I think that for attorneys that maybe have been a little reluctant to use case-related materials with some of these large language model tools, like the enterprise or team version of ChatGPT, start with the stuff that's publicly filed. You hit the nail on the head, like the copy of the petition, any other discovery that's been filed with the court, anything that really wouldn't be subject to a confidentiality or protective order at all. You can start with that. And if you want to submit other information that you have a concern about, whether it's medical records or something else, A, you should check with the company's privacy policies and their terms and conditions. Some of these tools are actually HIPAA compliant. And so I wouldn't don't just immediately write off the possibility of uploading confidential or maybe medical record type documents to certain tools. You just need to check their terms and conditions, make sure that you're comfortable with it. And if you're not, then you can just anonymize the data and you can still tell it some of the key facts and things that you need it to analyze. You could just withhold the name of the person, date of birth, social security numbers, things like that. You can kind of anonymize it and then use the tools that way. At least that's what I recommend.
Hey, Karl, quick question from
Yeah.
the audience. Which LLM did you use to create the slide two before this? Which one do you remember?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was ChatGPT.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
pretty sure it was ChatGPT that I created that slide with. The only reason I hesitate is because I'm still using a lot of them because I have yet to pick the one that's my favorite. So I work with Grok, I work with ChatGPT, I work with Microsoft Copilot. I have Claude that I'll show a demo in just a minute. They all
Do
have
you do you do you, do you subscribe to all of them, or are you just getting the free
I,
trials?
I subscribe to all of them, but they're only the ones that I subscribe to, which are the business plans. They're only about $20 to $25 a month. So while it sounds like a lot of different, tools, I mean, it only adds up to about $125 a month. And for someone who's, really into tech and still testing and deciding which ones to deploy, it's a pretty low barrier of cost. At least I think so. So I'll talk to these. Some of these that I'm going to show are not only $20 a month. So let's talk about some of the legal specific vendors. They are more expensive, but they're also more powerful in certain respects. So CoCounsel, which was originally developed by a company named Casetext, they were acquired by Thomson Reuters for $600 million, largely because of CoCounsel. So they must have been doing something right. And CoCounsel is their kind of proprietary large language model system that allows you to do all sorts of really cool things. Summarizing documents, I would say, I almost thought about taking it out, but wanted to leave it in. And the reason I was thinking about taking it out is it's almost child's play for these large language models. They are so damn good at summarizing voluminous documents and data that if you're not using it to summarize stuff, I think you're really missing out on what could save you a ton of time. Here's what to look for, though, regardless of which tool you use. Again, check their privacy policy. I'm not going to beat a dead horse on that. Make sure you're comfortable with the tool. But B, make sure that you see the source of truth. So if you see on the slide these little footnotes, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, if I were to click one of those, the source of truth would pop up. And what I mean by that is it would take me to the source material, to the page where it summarized the relevant information. And I think that's really important for any of these AI tools is make sure the source of truth is one click away. And so when we look to like a timeline, for example, you can upload a lot of documents into Code Counsel. Lexis has a similar tool, and it will not only summarize it, it can put it in timeline sequencing for you. You can download that as an Excel file. And it always has the source of truth one click away. Like you see these little footnotes. Again, if I were to click those in the browser, it would open it up and it would take me to the corresponding document.
Now, would you say that that part of it separates it from like Chat GPT?
I would say that part used to separate it from ChatGPT. So again, I need to update a couple of these slides, admittedly, but ChatGPT and some of the others did not used to have that full functionality. They have added it. In my experience so far, and it could be, again, this stuff moves so fast, it's hard to stay current. In my experience so far, ChatGPT has added some citations, but it isn't as robust as CoCounsel. It doesn't seem to take you directly to the page within the document where the source information exists. It just takes you to the document, and then you have to go find the page and the material. Now, has that changed in the last week or two? I don't know. Maybe it's entirely possible. These things are, AI is moving so fast. Gemini is one that I don't have in my presentation right now. I want to add it because Google has put so much time, money, and effort into trying to win the race, and apparently it's paying off. A lot of people are saying they think Google is going to ultimately come out on top. So you got to test these things yourself and figure out which one you like. There's a lot of them.
Well,
And
CoCounsel was a great program until Westlaw bought it.
hey,
It was
I'm
like
not here to
$600 a year.
I'm not here to bash Westlaw, but I share your frustration, and I'll briefly tell this side story. I was a Casetext co-counsel subscriber. I really liked Casetext a lot. I used it
It
for
was
many years.
awesome.
And then they just canceled my subscription and gave me a number that I needed to call to talk to some agent who wanted me to marry them with a 5-year contract at some crazy cost. So I share a little bit of your frustration. I don't like that business model either. But Hughie, I know you use it. I say you use several tools, but ChatGPT is one that I think we both use, and you use it a lot for drafting. Tell me about some of the different ways that you use it for drafting.
Well, the thing about Chat GPT, I think people have to really ask yourself, what do you really want it to do? Like it can, we routinely use it to give us a template. And if you just looked at the template and didn't read the case, you would think, oh, I could file that. That's awesome. But it can only do so much. And even, Clio work and Clio and co-counsel and the Nexus, they can only do so much. I think the thing that I see that separates, Chat GPT and the kind of the legal research models is that they're going right to those cases, and all those cases they're pulling are correct cases, but it may still not be 100% correct. But
Yeah.
as far as, drafting correspondence, like letters of engagements, letters of representation, I mean, these things are drafting letters better than you like.
I agree.
Oh my God, is you're not using that for these little simple, even with Gemini, we started using Gemini, and I'll go to an email and it'll just have a paragraph, and it'll be like 95% of what I was going to write anyway. Like,
Yeah. It's
So
really it really blows you away. And for those of you who haven't tried what Yui's talking about, so Google has now started to bake in. If you use Google for your email program, I use it for my personal email and for my Scribe email. My law firm uses Outlook, so I don't yet have that really cool feature for legal law firm purposes. But Gemini now will. It's a little like a star-looking icon on the top right. And if you click it, it will analyze the email and draft suggested responses and give you a few different options. And I have also noticed that the quality is impressive. And it will actually proactively, I just saw this yesterday, it will even recommend actions like, here, I actually think you should forward this email to someone else on your team. Here's a draft forward, and here's a message to your teammate. So, really impressive way to draft correspondence. And you can also draft it. I'll go one slide. I'll tell briefly this because I used ChatGPT this morning, and hopefully my opposing counsel isn't watching this webinar. It doesn't really matter if he is, but I have a discovery motion to compel dispute this afternoon, and opposing counsel filed a letter late yesterday, and I needed to get something on file this morning, and so I just dictated to ChatGPT, what my handful of arguments were that I wanted to convey to the arbitrator just in a letter form. And again, to Yui's point, what would have taken an associate or me, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour, it always takes longer than you think it's going to take. Took me more like 5 minutes to get a letter that was really solidly written and made the points I wanted to make.
and one thing I don't even think we touched on that we do is in any type of case we have with our clients is we get these kind of like preparing to testify. You do a chat GTPT on like how to testify in a custody case,
Oh yeah.
and we can share that with the client, and that just increases client engagement, you
Uh,
know.
Absolutely. It's a really great way to, I think the prior slide, I'll go back one, not to go back a lot, but, you know, for all of us who have to keep our clients updated, whether we're on the plaintiff side or the defense side, it is really awesome to be able to speed up those updates. And for those of you who maybe aren't sure how to prompt AI, and I've met a lot of lawyers who just say they don't use it because they're really not sure what to prompt, I would encourage you to click the voice button at the bottom and just talk to it like you would a paralegal or an associate. And so if you just imagine you were bringing your paralegal or your assistant or your associate into your office and you were going to assign them a task, just press that voice button and talk to the AI and pretend it's a person and tell it exactly the task and what you want it to do and what detail you want included. And then just click submit. And I think you'll be blown away at the result.
One thing I'd like to add is, I use the Hey Google at home. And this is the same type of situation. You can't say, Hey Google, and have some long-winded question. It has to be short, specific. Hey Google, what time is it in Amsterdam? You're going to get 100% correct answer on that one.
Right.
So it's like short, very concise questions. And that's really hard for us as lawyers because
Yeah.
we're very long-winded.
Yeah, and I don't disagree you. I would just say that you can always break it into chunks,
Chunks.
and as long as you're specific and aren't too rambling, it will do a pretty good job even with a slightly longer request. Just make sure that the key that when I give it a longer instruction, it's because I'm giving it context. So I'll be very specific with what I want it to do. Hey, I want you to draft a response to this letter I got yesterday from opposing counsel. Please make sure it's, the tone of an attorney. And here's the context of what we're talking about. And then I'll give it more
And,
length.
and, and can you talk about, and one thing I found is, you can build on the document.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to make the document. I think this is the whole thing. We got to bake the whole cake. No, we can build on it. We can make a smaller cake and then build a layer cake and then build another cake. So
That's
you can make a document better as it goes.
That's a really good point. And I don't have my internet browser open at the moment, or I would show you, but ChatGPT actually has a canvas function. I think that's what they call it, where you can, as it gives you a response, let's say you wanted it to draft a letter like this sample that's on the screen, and you'd given it the prompts the way you and I just described, and it was a little bit off. You can actually just click right there in the browser into the canvas and edit it in real time as the AI is drafting it. It's really mind blowing. Let's talk a little bit about research. I want to shift gears because legal research is the one that seems to continue to get attorneys into trouble. And so if there's, if you only take away one thing from this presentation, other than the fact that, you and I spent some time in the NFL together, um, the
Not for the Falcons. I was on the Browns. I was
oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, wrong team. Um, so I was going off of where, your college location. But so legal research. A lot of attorneys are still making the mistake of using consumer-facing tools for legal research. And I would encourage you to just spend the money, and it is a little more expensive. But if you're going to use AI, first of all, you don't have to use AI for legal research. You could just continue to do it the old-fashioned way. But it can save you a ton of time. So if you're going to use one, I just finished piloting at my firm, Lexis AI, Thomson Reuters, Westlaw co-counsel, and or Westlaw Precision. I can't remember. They have so many different brand names. And Clio Work, which is Vincent, which was previously owned by VLEX. Clio just acquired
and
VLEX.
I think you can get Vincent on its own too.
You
Yeah.
can still
And
get
I
Vincent.
still have because I have Vincent on
Yep.
his on my own.
Absolutely. You can still get Vincent on your own without getting too deep in the weeds. Fast Case, which some of us get through our state bar membership, got acquired by VLEX. VLEX launched a product called Vincent, which is their generative AI tool. I'll show you in just a moment. Clio acquired them for $1 billion earlier this year because of the pretty amazing work that they did with Vincent. So what do these tools look like? Here's what one looks like. This is Lexis's tool. They call it Protege. You can ask it a question. You can have it draft something for you, summarize. You can upload documents. They have a feature called the Vault feature where you can upload documents. In my testing, again, this is just my testing as of fall 2025. Um, I would say Lexis was good, but it was not quite as robust in its answers. And what I mean by that, there didn't feel like there was as much depth to the answers. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a moment. Here's an example question. This came up in a real case, and I wasn't 100% sure of the answer. I just haven't had that many cases where we settled and there was a child support obligation where there was not a lien. And so my question to my associate, and we decided to run it through the AI, was, does a defendant have a legal obligation to protect past due child support if the Office of Attorney General has confirmed in writing that there's no lien currently in place? Because it just felt awkward. We knew there was child support owed, but there wasn't a lien. Do we have any obligation? So we ran that question through all three of the tools we were testing. This is Lexis's response. What you're paying for, and the reason you see the yellow at the bottom and the dollar signs, this is why these tools cost $3 signs. And by that, I mean anywhere from $200 a month to, probably $400 a month, depending on which tool and your contract. This is why they cost that much, is because when you get an answer, you're getting real case law and it's going to be linked and you can read the statute or the case law. And so here's an example of Vincent. Again, this you can get this two ways, either directly from VLEX or it is now, I think, in early release within Clio. So if you use Clio as your practice management company, you can reach out to Clio as well. I don't get any referral fee for saying that. I
It's
use
Clio work. And I
Clio.
think that
Yeah.
it's actually the one good thing about it is that once you have it, and we didn't end up getting it, but it really analyzes every part of your file and asks you questions and gives you advice once the file is open. So before you even look at it, it's already said you may want to research this, you may want to research that, think about this.
Yeah, that's great. I agree, you. And so the way that Clio thinks about this, and again, I know it says Vincent at the top, but Clio owns it now. The way Clio talks about this is Clio used to be the place where you kind of stored records, like the place of record, like that's where you stored your file. What they are leaning into for the next decade is becoming kind of the place of action, where you upload materials, pleadings, records, whatever it may be, and Clio's AI analyzes those things and really tries to take proactive steps or recommend things for you to do, leveraging their AI tool. They are just scratching the surface. So I would tell you from my own testing, which I did last month, don't expect perfection. The first iterations primarily focused on legal research. That's not to say that it doesn't have other features, it does. But I think there's a ton of potential in what Clio is building and has acquired. You'll notice on the screen here, Vincent's answer was just more robust. I mean, I can't show the whole answer on the screen, but it was a much more detailed answer. It had statutes and case law. Again, you're paying $3 signs here so that you get real cases. this is co-counsel's, or excuse me, Westlaw's response. It was also very robust. It was a little longer. Excuse me. It took more time to get a response from Westlaw. And now it told me that. It said, "Hey, expect the response in 10 minutes." But it gave a very good response, very detailed response, and all the case law and the statutes were real cases and statutes. Here's a warning, though, and I know you're just going to touch on this. There's a concept that you've heard about hallucinating. So if you use any of the tools that I just talked about, Lexis AI, Westlaw's Precision or AI, or Vincent, you're not going to have to worry about hallucinated cases as long as the case or statute is hyperlinked, underlined. You do have to worry about hallucinated quotes. We had a test during our pilot at my firm where one of the partners caught a quote from a case that was made up. The quote did not exist in the case. The case was real, but when we went into the case and read it top to bottom, the quote did not exist. So you cannot copy and paste these outputs. You was going to touch on the concept of dreaming versus hallucinating. So what's been your experience?
Well, I think dreaming to me is a little bit more dangerous because it actually cites a case that's close to what you want to say, but not technically correct. And that's happened to me so many times. I go and click on that case and read the case, and it kind of touches on the notion that I'm bringing forth, but it kind of doesn't. And whatever it quoted is not there, so it didn't really hallucinate, but it brought up, I think the AI is still trying to figure out, because string sites for us, we understand those, but I think the AI is still figuring out the string sites because it may go to a string site that may not be exactly what the actual site
Yeah.
was saying. So it's very, I mean, to me, after having looked at Clio work, looked at Lexus, lightly looked at Westlaw, the thing that for me, Chat GPT is doing, it's not going to be the greatest at legal research, quote unquote. But as far as the format and template, I'm putting my money with them because they got so much. They
Yeah.
just have so much, and it's such a big process. Because I think when you go to the specialized folks, it's like it's a specialized thing. But Chat GPT has much more of an open kind of an open concept. So
Yeah.
this notion of dreaming is very difficult. And you could go to the case and it can kind of, I've done this, we had a couple of appeals and we've used Chat GPT, and I go into these cases that are cited and I have to kind of take the case out or go to the actual correct site or just do my own independent research. So I always say, this AI is great for a template,
Yeah.
an
I
outline, but it's not going to replace you reading through the file and understanding the file and understanding the concept you're trying to convey.
Yeah, I agree, you. And I'm trying to decide. We just finished the pilot. We're taking a vote on our AI task force as to which of the three we're going to pick. But the next step is, we're not going to be able to roll this out next week. We're going to have to set up some guardrails and some training for the rest of the team because the entire team wasn't on the task force. And I think, right now, as I've been working on some of that, the number one rule is don't copy and paste. You can't just copy and paste the output. You've got to use it as inspiration for your own writing, put it in your own words, and vet the case law. The other thing that I'm thinking about requiring, I haven't decided yet, is maybe make sure that when they cite a case, they use the hyperlink to where they know, like it's clickable and the partner can click it from Microsoft Word and go see the case. Because even though you know best practices and I know best practices, will every single person you work with, every paralegal, every assistant, every associate, even if they're,
No, they
yeah,
won't.
they won't. That's
Because
right.
you know how I know they won't? When I had that appeal, I hired a lawyer to site check every case, and they said it was fine. But then I double checked it, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe they just Chat GPT'd it, but they didn't go to
Yeah.
every site like I did and
Right.
try to find the exact quote, which takes time. So you can't look at it as it's going to save you so much time. It's gonna make it easier, but I don't know. It saves you some time, but if you do it right, it's not going to save you that much time because you still got to do some work.
Yeah, and I would also say keep an eye out until one of the tools like Vincent or Westlaw or Lexis offers an API to tie into ChatGPT. Do not use ChatGPT for case law research or questions. You can use it for argument ideas. And it does know some of the law, but don't you dare copy and paste a case from ChatGPT. I would have failed you if you do that. Make sure you're using one of the other tools. This is a meme that's kind of funny. I think it speaks a little bit to the dreaming concept. My experience with during the pilot when we piloted the legal research tools were they were just too aggressive in their conclusions. They kind of were telling me what they thought I wanted to hear, and they were taking the cases maybe one step too far. In where I might read a case and say, well, it stands for this proposition, and here's kind of how a court might reach a conclusion on this direction or that direction. AI was very conclusive. The court will find, based on this, and this. And a lot of times it was just wrong. And so I think this is I think sometimes the AI is almost telling you what it thinks it wants you to hear, and it isn't always right. And so this is kind of a funny meme that I saw online, and I thought it kind of reminded me of some of the testing I've done with some of the legal research platforms.
Yeah,
Um,
and so Carl, how many lawyers do you have in your firm?
we have 20 attorneys, and we've got about 20 staff members, so team of 40.
So, and that's the thing, it's like the cost of it, because most of the people that I've talked to, if you have 20 lawyers, then you got to have 20 passwords.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. You're 100% right.
So
And
it's like,
you also have 20 people that you have to make sure are using it responsibly.
right. So I don't know. It's like, is it really worth that amount of money? Like, if you're a small firm, it's one person and you have one password, okay, yeah, I get it, $200.
Yeah, yeah.
But 20 people,
I will
okay.
say, I will say, and I'm going to sound like a salesperson for Clio by saying this, but Clio being one of the not new companies, but certainly newer than a Thomson Reuters or a Lexis, I think you can actually piecemeal your subscriptions to their AI tool. You don't have to subscribe your
Yeah,
entire.
well, you don't have to have work, but if you have lawyers, they're gonna make every lawyer in your firm have a Clio work
Well,
access.
Lexis and Westlaw do require, I think, all the attorneys. I think Clio
Yeah.
might let you just sign up for a few. So double check with them. They can answer that.
Well, I talked to them.
Oh, you
So
did? Okay.
yeah,
Well,
they not
maybe,
letting they
maybe.
don't, everybody get that because they know if you have one passport, everybody would just use it.
Okay. Well,
So
let's dive into depo prep. Let's spend the rest of the time we've got on depositions. So let's talk about this is an interesting use case. I'm going to briefly mention this one. I'm going to skip a couple of the others in the interest of time. But I had a really long drive to Odessa, Texas, which is about 5 to 6 hours, and I needed to prepare for the depositions. It was 6 depositions back to back to back, and I wasn't fully prepared. I was going to have to spend the night at the hotel getting really prepared for it. And I thought, man, it would be nice if I could just listen to something on the drive. And so I uploaded the case materials to Google's product, Notebook LM. And here's what popped out. I want you to confirm for me when I press play, just with a thumbs up, that you can hear these podcast hosts. And I will tell you a little bit about it after I press play and you listen.
All right, so we're diving into this personal injury case against Family Dollar today. Yeah. You sent a ton of material over witness interviews, expert reports, legal filings. It's a lot, a real legal drama unfolding.
Yeah, a lot of moving pieces for sure.
Our mission with this deep dive is to really break it all down, analyze those witness accounts, understand everybody's role and, any potential biases, and then ultimately try to uncover the strengths and weaknesses of Family Dollar's case.
Yeah, what's really striking is the number of people involved and then all the conflicting accounts of what actually went down. It's a real challenge to try to piece together the truth.
That's what we're here for.
But that's what we do.
Exactly. To set the stage.
All right. So those were virtual AI generated podcast hosts who spoke to me for about an hour about all the different people involved in my case. And I could actually, from that same upload, create a study guide, a timeline, even a mind map where it took the incident, it broke it into buckets by category. And if I clicked one, it broke it into sub buckets. It was really a powerful way to kind of ingest a lot of information in a case that had a lot of conflicting witness reports. I found it pretty fascinating. My bigger use case, I think, for the Notebook LM product, it may not be deposition prep. I thought the way that the podcast hosts talked about, again, they're AI generated podcast hosts, but the way that they talked about the issues were the way that a jury would talk about the issues and think about the issues. So I would encourage you to test it for as you get ready for picking a jury, as you get ready to do opening statement. I think you could get a lot of value and ideas out of Notebook LM tool. It's really
See,
interesting.
I'm not even familiar with this. There's so many tools out here now
There's
that
so
it
much.
seems like every day there's something new.
It's crazy how many there are, and Notebook LM's not really geared towards legal, at least not yet. But that was a pretty fascinating use case, and I've talked to some other attorneys who have used it to get caught up on files that maybe they're joining the trial team and they need to digest a lot of information, and they throw it into Notebook LM and create a study guide and listen to some podcast about the case. Can make it a little entertaining to listen to it. Claude is one you probably heard of. Anthropic owns Claude. I'm going to show you a couple of a couple of ways I have used Claude to prepare myself for a deposition and also to prepare a witness for the deposition. So in this example, I've changed the names to protect the innocent or not so innocent. But what I'm doing here with this prompt, and I have a prompting guide. If you want it, just shoot me an email or drop your email into the chat. I'm uploading the claimant's expert report and my expert's report, and I'm telling it to use the content of those reports as well as what it knows about, established OSHA standards or industry norms to create an outline for me. And I'm really, wanting an outline that will undermine the opposing expert's opinions. It takes that information with my prompt and organizes a pretty impressive first draft of an outline. So you're going to see here, I tell it how I want it organized. It's similar to how I would give an associate a detailed instruction of here's what I want you to do, and here's how I want you to do it. And so it then generates the outline, and it's a good first draft. As Hughie was saying earlier, think of it as a first draft. It's not going to be something that just print it out and walk into the deposition room and take the deposition, or walk into court and make the oral argument. But it can definitely save you a ton of time in just getting that first draft together. Some of it's going to
And
be
sometimes, honestly, for me, like when you do this draft, it may think of something that you didn't automatically think of.
exactly. That's what I was going to say.
I mean, that's probably the most helpful thing because sometimes you just don't normally think of it and bam, it's already there.
Yeah, for those of us that have been doing this for 20 years, some of it you're going to say, yeah, of course, that's basic. I would know that. But I've yet to have a time where something in the answer didn't kind of be a light bulb moment, like, oh, that is an interesting way to frame it. And so this is an example of how you can use the same type of tool, and I have some prompts for this as well, to prep a witness. So this is now taking some of the facts of the case, some of the documents from the case, and telling the AI, hey, I need to prep this person who's never been deposed before, who is a key witness in the case. It was a forklift injury case. And I need to prep them on how to handle questions and what to expect and kind of the basic rules of kind of deposition 101. And again, some of the stuff was kind of basic stuff that I probably would have covered anyway, but it got into some sample questions that were framed in ways that maybe I hadn't thought about. And so it was a really interesting way to help an attorney prep a witness. Depending on your state and your venue, obviously you may not want to share the output with the witness. In Texas, I wouldn't share this with the witness because that may put it in a situation where I would have to produce it. But I put it in front of myself, and it helps me guide the prep session with the witness.
You
So
mean your own witness?
my own, even, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I like to think of these tools as thought partners. It's really someone to bounce ideas off of, give me first drafts, help me craft themes, or it's really persuasive. It can do a really crazy good job at drafting an opening statement or a closing argument. Let's talk a little bit about taking depositions with AI live. And so this is interesting. This is new. There's only a couple of companies that I'm aware of that do this. Scribe is one of them. But you can now get a real-time transcript for no additional cost that's 97% accurate right out of the gate before it's even been proofread. And you can chat with it using the latest large language models and get insights that will help you ask better questions. And so let me kind of show you what that looks like. I'm going to show you this short video clip, about 30 seconds.
Called real-time transcript will appear. Launch the real-time transcript and watch it update. It updates every few words and continues until the event ends. It streams the ASR-generated text as the event happens. Keyword search. Change font size. Chat with the transcript when you need it. Get your questions answered. And finish your depo strong.
So we had a really interesting scribe user, an attorney named Brooks, who used this recently and posted a really cool review on LinkedIn. And he said he used to do this stuff manually himself using a few different software tools that he would kind of piece all this together. And this kind of did it for him, which was fairly magical and helped him make sure that he always remembered to ask the right follow-up questions and maybe things that he would otherwise miss. This is kind of an example of, you could prompt it and just ask it after 2-3 hours of testimony, show me everything the witness has said about issue X, any contradictions so far in the testimony, some questions I should follow up and ask. What you're going to see is the source of truth is always one click away. So when you get the answers in the chat, and this is just an example version, not the full interface, but you're going to be able to click a link that would take you to the transcript from the deposition you're taking back to the text that supports the AI's answer. And it can spot contradictions, recommend follow-up questions. It's really, really powerful. What we found, Hughie, though, was some attorneys do like chatting with the AI chat. In fact, the attorney that
I would say probably a lot don't.
a lot don't. And so what we found was, what if you can just focus on the witness and we can make it super simple for you? And you don't have to worry about what to ask the AI. You can just click a button. And so what we added, and this is a real world example, what we added is an insights feature. And if you click insights, what you're going to get is the AI is going to analyze the entire transcript from that deposition so far, up until the point that you click the button. And it's going to spot any inconsistencies in the testimony with links back to the transcript, so you can go look at it yourself if you want to. It's going to suggest follow-up items to close gaps in the testimony where the AI has spotted gaps in the testimony. And it's going to identify anything that maybe has become an unanswered question. You and I know you're taking a deposition, maybe you end up going down a rabbit trail with the witness on some issue. Some attorneys are really good about always going back to close the loop. I think Nita calls it the funneling approach.
And so, Karl, for people who don't use Scribe, is this something that's included with your deposition, or is this extra?
This is included. No subscription, no extra fee. This is included just as a part of the base price to use Scribe for a deposition. So it's a really, really cool and powerful feature. I like to think of it as kind of a second chair or second set of eyes in the deposition room. And one of the things that's a benefit of using a modern tool like Scribe, again, there are others out there, but I would encourage you to take a fresh look at who you're using for your depositions, because look, I've been doing this for 20 years. In today's world, when you end a deposition, you should have a lot more than just your notepad. And so with these modern deposition tools like Scribe, you get a transcript, sync to the video, you can AI search it, you can keyword search it, you can clip it, and within 1 week, for no extra cost, you get a transcript, just like you're used to seeing. So this is kind of an example.
And when you say clip it, for the uninitiated, if you're filing like a motion for summary judgment, you could take that video and clip it into your motion.
Exactly right.
So when you file it and the judge or whoever's reading it, they're reading it, they can clip and see the video, which I've done.
That's exactly right. I'm going to skip to the clipping actually really quickly. I want to show one of them. I want to show the latest one. So the same day the deposition's over, even before the final transcript has been put into the application, you can start chopping up your video, and you can do it using AI. You can have it create the clips for you. And so here's an example. Now, within about a week, 5 business days, the final transcript will show up in the app. So you'll see here, there's a final transcript indicator. Now, if you've made clips with that rough transcript that was available the same day, they're just going to convert for you automatically, and they're going to have page line numbers with them. So you can actually start working on cutting up that deposition the same day you take it. And then when the deposition's loaded into the platform, this is new. So this is for new depositions, just came out a week ago. You're going to have page and line numbers as well. So this is kind of how it works. I'll show you real quick. We're going to just ask it, how did the witness describe the incident and whether the impact was heavier on the passenger side or the driver's side? It's going to analyze the transcript, answer the question, and create a video clip.
So was the impact heavier on either the driver's side or the passenger side, or was it even throughout the front part of the vehicle?
I would say even.
Okay.
And then you can save that clip into your clip list. In the middle is a clip list. If you have multiple clips, you could put them on a playlist, so you can actually create like a highlight reel. And you can share those things just like you and I, you and I might share a YouTube clip with each other. You can actually do that with Scribe for deposition clips. And what's nice is the page and line numbers are going to be included now. Again, that's a new feature just rolled out for new depositions. But when you create those clips, you're going to have your page and line numbers as well. So it's a pretty neat feature. You can also do some other things like draft discovery. I'll show you one example of that. This is after a deposition in one of my cases last year where it was a forklift driver. I wanted it to, this is just dark mode in the browser, but I wanted it to draft some.
And he looks angry.
I wanted it to draft some discovery tailored to what was just said at the deposition. So if you looked at my prompt, I know it went fast and I'm happy to share prompts with you, but this is tailored to the testimony. And so it's now drafted very specific requests for production, interrogatories, and RFAs based on what was just said that day. And so then I can copy and paste that, drop it into Microsoft Word. Really, really, really simple. And
Now, does it use Google Docs for the people who don't want to pay for Word?
right now, it just copies it onto your clipboard. So you can actually,
Okay, so you can copy it anywhere.
you can put it anywhere you want. We will be
And is that is included as well?
everything I'm showing you is included just in the price of taking a deposition. There's
And
no,
is that a new feature?
that is maybe 6 months ago, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it fully memorized, but
Hey, Karl, we've got about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Well, let's I want to show one other thing. So some of these use cases, you can start to put video clips into your brief. So this is an example of putting one in a motion for summary judgment. This is an example of putting one in a demand letter. So there really are some powerful ways that you can take depositions, create video clips the same day you take it, and use it to leverage next steps in your case, help you draft discovery, help you draft demand letters. And so ultimately, these tools are ready for you. And there's, attorneys like Hughie and my firm, we're using them every day to do a better job for our clients and to build stronger cases. We'll just open it up for Q&A. If anyone has any questions, be happy to take questions. I'm going to throw this up for anyone who wants to email questions or get a copy of the disclaimer or the AI prompt guide that I mentioned. But Randy, do we have any questions that have come in?
We do. The Google Gemini star within Gmail, is there something that's similar with Outlook?
Yeah, there is. It's called Copilot, and I use it. I use it almost every day. In my experience so far, it's not quite as good and intuitive. And the reason I say that is the version that I'm using in Outlook, and I would open it up and just show you, but I probably have client communications in my inbox, so I don't want to breach attorney-client privilege. But there is a button, a little Copilot icon, and if you click it, the difference is it doesn't have like pre-drafted options for you to where it gives you like the full text of option A, option B, option C, like Google does. It has a built-in prompt, like, do you want to write a reply? And insert the topics in the following bracket. So you have to do a little bit more work. It's more like asking ChatGPT, hey, please draft an email. Here's what I wanted to say. Gemini's is a little more, takes it one step further.
It's embedded into Gmail.
Yeah. Yeah. And this
So
Copilot,
it does things without prompts.
yeah. Copilot is also embedded into Outlook. It's not very expensive. So if you already use Office 365 for your law firm, the price to upgrade to the Copilot feature, I mean, I want to say $10 a month or something. So it's so cheap that it's worth trying.
I can say for us, the reason we use Google Docs is because we have a lot of like international folks working remotely, and all of it's readily available for free.
Yeah.
So we don't have to like worry about buying them a subscription to Copilot. Or once we have Gmail and Google Docs, which everybody has Google Docs and Gmail, then there's no other, it's seamless we got someone working in the Canary Islands, one guy working in Venezuela, some people in South Africa. So it just works out.
That's very cool. Very cool. Any other questions, Randy, that come in?
That's it for now.
All right. Well, would love to have you look into Scribe if you're interested. We've done over 3,000 depositions in 30 plus states. Randy is one of the account executives. He can show you how to use it, train your team on some of the features. And again, what's really cool for those of us who are firm owners or managers, all the features that I showed you towards the end are included in the cost of the deposition. So it becomes a pass-through expense. You don't have to subscribe to a monthly fee to get it. So it's makes it very affordable to use in your cases and can help you have a really big impact in your cases. And, just getting the deposition and it also will solve the problem that I had for years of asking my assistant, hey, it's been 3 weeks. Where's that deposition transcript at? Now you just have it. It's the moment you walk out of the deposition, you have the first transcript and you get the final within a week. So it's a lot faster and a lot more affordable as well. Hughie, I want to say thank you for joining me
Thank you.
on this. It's been really fun. I'm glad I got to surprise you with those AI generated football pictures.
That was funny.
That was funny. And Randy, I think that probably wraps it up on our end.
That's it. Thanks everyone for joining. We will be sending out a recording of this to everybody. And if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you much.